At this time of the year, it just seems like I'm up and down this loft ladder time and time again. I've just been into the loft to bring down my Christmas bag. I love thrifting, hunting out charity shops, second-hand sales, and looking at what my neighbours have put out for free. And in order that it doesn't clutter up my workshop, I put it into a huge brass bag and just stash it up in my loft. So I'm rather looking forward to seeing what I've been collecting over the last few months that I can use for my thrifted Christmas. Hello and welcome, and for those of you who are new here, I'm Julie from Julie Davis Flower Workshops and Flower Start, the online flower arranging classes. But before I show you what's in my bag, I have been thrifting again in the last couple of days. I think I might have a slight addiction problem here, so I thought you might like to see what I found in the last couple of days and how I'm going to use those bits and pieces to decorate my home at Christmas. So the first thing I bought was this rather dilapidated box of Christmas baubles. So the theme this year for our Christmas tree is going to be primarily red with touches of white and gold. So I've got lots of different size balls. These have got like a glitter effect on them, and these ones here have got more of a ridge detail. I do not want the green ones, so I think probably to save space and in order that I don't start hoarding all things Christmas, I'm going to go through these and re-gift the ones to charity shop that I don't want. So that'll definitely be the green. I'm just noticing here that this particular one doesn't have a hanger, so we'll need to see whether I can perhaps I could craft something with that rather than just getting rid of it. So the whole box here, dilapidated as it is, costs me £2.50. So here I am in my kitchen sorting through my Christmas baubles. So I'm picking out the green ones, and I'm pleased to say they've already been redonated back to the charity shop. So I am going to take out the they're red, take out the red baubles and use my assortments of ribbon to hang on new hangers and put little decorative bows on them. And I always save these offcuts of ribbon. You never quite know how short a piece you're going to use, and I do like to make sure I don't waste too many bits and pieces. I originally thought I could use some of my narrower ribbon to create replacement hangers, but I tried doing that and the eye of the bauble was just too narrow, so I went off and found my darning needle, the one with a really large eye, and just made sure that I could pass the needle through the hanger on the bauble, and I threaded up some red festive wool and replaced the gold hangers with woolen hangers. And then I'm going to sort through my pile of ribbons to find the best ones to use to make little bows. In the end, I go for the narrower ribbon, which must be a little less than a centimetre wide. I found the red and white stripy ribbon was too wide, and there's a little ribbon with printed wording on it, and that was like grosgrain type fabric, and that was just too stiff, and it wasn't easy enough to manipulate into a bow. Now, as I'm editing this video, I discovered that my camera is at quite a bizarre angle. I seem to have got my tripod in shot, and you couldn't see me making the bows because my hands were too far away from the camera. So what I did, instead of tying the bow like a conventional shoelace, making one loop and taking the tail round and pulling the loop through, I actually made two loops and then tied them in the knot. And I just find that way you get the two loops of the bow going upright and the two tail ends going upright, and you get this nice sort of X shape to your ribbon, and it's just a really handy way of making an evenly sized bow. And of course, because my camera's in the wrong position, you can't see me use the hot glue gun to attach the bows onto my baubles, but I just put a dab of glue behind the knot of the bow, and then I just position it so that it covers up the gold of the clip of the bauble, and you get a lovely sort of vintage looking bauble for the absolutely next to nothing, just using charity shop baubles and a few scraps of ribbon. And then I might have bought myself a little present. I have been collecting red transferware, and I'll try and leave a link to some of the videos where I've featured some of my transferware finds. Again, that's getting quite addictive. It took me ages and ages to spot any pieces, and now I seem to see it practically everywhere I go. So I think I'm going to have to start resisting it a little bit. The first is a little round dish with a country scene around the edge. I've got a church, an old building, some cottages, trees, but inside it is beautifully floral. I don't know what this would have been made for originally. A sugar bowl, it looks quite big for that though. And the back marking says Enoch Woods, English Scenery by Woodsware, Wood and Sons, England. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to do with this. Of course, it needs a really good wash. I need to take the label off. That was £1.20 from a charity shop up in my sister's house. I have been using other red transferware bulbs to put hyacinths inside, so forcing them under the spare bed. So probably today might be quite a good day to check on how they're getting on. So £1.20 for the little bowl. And 80p for the little dish. And as I look on the back, it looks like that's from the same range. So quite a shallow container. So I may well put a plate hanger on the back and hang that on the wall with a collection of plates I've already got. Or perhaps I'll use it for nibbles and things like that. Who knows? And here I am, Operation Under the Spare Bed. So I planted up these bulbs probably about 5 weeks ago. So it's probably 5 weeks into the growing season. And you can see that the bulbs have started to develop quite a good root system. In fact, they're pushing themselves out of the bowl. So there's a small layer of compost, and under that there's a layer of gravel, just so the bulbs don't become waterlogged. And you can see as I'm fiddling around with them that even though I've tried to keep them out of the light, there must have been a chink of light coming in, because they have started to sort of tumble round and move a little bit. So the compost was very dry, so I've used my my spritzer to moisten the top of the compost. I don't want the bulbs to go mouldy, and that has happened to me before. So I'm just going to keep them under the bed for a few more weeks. And when the growth has come up a little bit more, the moment they're just starting to burst through and they're really, really pale, I will then take them out from under the bed and let them green up in the natural daylight. And these probably won't flower in time for Christmas, but I'm hoping that they will flower early compared to those naturally growing outdoors. So in that sort of quiet time after Christmas, when everything's sort of a bit dull and sad after the festivities, I'll have some lovely fresh flowers to look forward to. And now on to the big bag of things I have been collecting over the last few months. First of all, I have got these two old biscuit tins, which originally held shortbread biscuits from M&S. So this one cost me £2, and this other one cost me £1. So they're both metallic with some gold detailing, slightly raised. And my idea is I'm going to set up a little Christmas village, either across the front of my mantelpiece or on a shelf. And I'm not entirely sure about the colours. I can see the red being a Christmas red, but I'm not quite sure about this aqua blue. And I'm considering painting it and then perhaps wet distressing around the details of the windows and the doors here, so it has a more muted look. And they're musical. Thank you. Oh, I thought it had stopped. So there's the little mechanism for the musical box in there, and then just a plain tin inside. And I guess I could re-gift these. If I decide I don't want to use them as part of my decor, I could just wipe them out and then put a fancy replacement box of biscuits inside, and that would make a really great gift. I want to be honest with you. I don't seem to have much luck with chalk paint, but all the other crafting and thrift flipping channels I watch here on YouTube seem to swear by chalk paint. So I have upped my game a little bit, and I've gone and bought a Annie Sloan chalk paint rather than buying a cheaper brand, and I'm not sure that I'm using it properly. I think perhaps I'm putting it on too thin. So if you are a user of chalk paint, I would really appreciate it if you could leave me a comment and tell me what I'm doing wrong. So it's advertised as being a no prep, one coat kind of paint, and I would say that I did 2 good coats. Possibly this might have needed a third, and I still don't think the coverage was very good. But is the problem that I'm not using it on wood and I'm using it on this metal container? You'll have to let me know. Perhaps I'm trying to spread the paint out too thinly, so all advice would be warmly received. I keep accidentally knocking the winding mechanism for the music box, so every so often I'm startled by the fact that there's this Christmas music coming out from my workbench. Once that coat has dried, I then add a second coat, and I'm trying not to overwork the paint. I'm trying not to splosh it on, but I wonder whether I'm just not being generous enough. As I said before, leave me a comment and let me know what you would do if you were painting this metal tin using chalk paint. Oh, this is really sweet. It's a lovely little dish, and actually it says on the front, it's got a picture of Father Christmas, and there's 2 presents, and one label says Dad and the other label says Mum. So I'm rather wishing that my daughter had found this and she could have gifted it to me for Christmas, and that was £2. Father Christmas platter. So this is brand new. It says it's a Jolly Santa side plate, but I don't think it's ever been used because there is slight crazing all over the dish. So I guess perhaps this is one of these things that end up at the charity shop where the goods might have been damaged and they've been passed on. So this cost me £2, and when I was out at a Christmas shop nearby, they had very similar dishes which were about £8 each. And I thought I could either use that for a tray for mince pies, or again I could put one of these sticky hooks on the back and a command hook on my wall and hang that on the wall along with my red transferware. I first spotted these plate discs on Lisa's channel from Farmhouse on Boone, and they really have been a boon. Previously, when I've had decorative plates, I've stretched that wire holding over the top. It has little grip marks at the bottom and the top of your plate, which look rather unsightly. So I have ordered some of these online. If you're interested in sourcing your own, I will try and remember to leave a link in the description underneath the video. So what you do, it depends on the size of disc here. I've got a huge disc here because it's the first disc I bought, and I was confused by the sizing. So I'm going to cut it down into shape by just creasing out around that ridge of the plate, just so I can get it down to size. And then what you need to do is you take a damp cloth or your fingers and you wet the back of the disc. It's a sort of a glossy on the back, and you wet it and leave it to sort of cure, get sticky for about 5 minutes, and then flip the disc back over and position it where you want to go. And then I think it says to leave it overnight, or at least for an hour, until it's really, really stuck firmly. And then on my wall, I've got a command hook and hang it up on the wall. And as you'll see right at the end of the video, I decide that I don't quite like it. It doesn't quite look right with my other placements of more vintagey looking finds, and this is more of a novelty Father Christmas. But I might find space for it in my kitchen, where I think my decorations are going to be a little bit more on the joyful side rather than the vintage side. And on the subject of red transferware, this plate has been in my stash for ages. I must have bought this in the summer holidays. This is Myatt by Royal Mail, a genuine hand engraving in fine Staffordshire ware made in England. So again, it's got a little country scene, a church, a little cottage and a carriage with horses. And this little bell jar or cloche needs a bit of repair. I thought perhaps it might have been from one of those craft shops where you add in your own ingredients. But again, I was in Marks and Spencer's at the weekend and they, to me, looked like they had very similar ones to this. So I paid £1.50. It's actually a glass top, but I think it does need a bit of tender loving care, and I might even switch out the house and put something else instead. So it looks like whoever had this attached a bit of ribbon on the top and was using it as a decoration. I'm pretty certain I'm not going to be hanging it from my Christmas tree. It just needs a bit of care, washing out and perhaps at least gluing back the tinsel in place. But I might also think about changing up the little house that's inside, putting the lid back on and then using that as decoration on my mantelpiece. I've also managed to thrift a thermos flask, not for hot chocolate on the big day when we go out for our Boxing Day walk, but I thought I would use this as a vase, and I've spotted somewhere in town where there's a holly bush that's overhanging the pavement, so I might cut some holly stems and then use that perhaps in my kitchen. I really enjoy decorating this part of my kitchen. It's just a tiny part of the house that no one else notices that I switch things around a little bit. I've got my red Christmas cushion on and a little red toned Afghan throw, and the perfect place on this little storage box with my enamel tray, my new thermos flask, and here are the clippings of holly that I found when I was out on a dog walk. And for the extra bit of Christmas hygge, how about lighting a candle? Don't forget, don't leave your lit candles unattended. And on the subject of kitchen, I found this lovely little jug in the summer. It cost me 50p from a car boot fair, and it had a sort of dribble of emulsion paintwork on the side, but they came off really, really easily. And in fact, I've got the link to the video where I shared this in a previous thrift shopping haul. So I'll try and remember to leave that in the description underneath this video. And I found this for free, again in the height of the summer. So it's a little ceramic dish. I'm not sure whether it might have come from a florist originally and been planted up with perhaps mini Christmas trees. It's got two Father Christmases at the side with their black boots on and some holly. And I thought I might see whether it'll fit some Elizabeth Shaw mints in there. That would make a really good gift. It does mean though I'd have to open the mints to display them. I'm not quite sure how many would stay in there. And look at this little chap, a little reindeer. This was £3, it's brass. I've got quite a collection of reindeer now. Most of mine are wooden, and for Christmas I like to put little bow ties on them. So if I am going to add ribbons to the baubles I showed you, I shall have to remember to cut some and keep it for the reindeer. And I'm back in my kitchen showing you how to make a really delicate, perfectly proportioned bow. So I've got my camera angle right this time. So this is exactly the same technique I used for my baubles, making a loop, making another loop, and then tying the two loops together and then adjusting the bow to make sure it's all the right size and in proportion. And the way I do that is to pull down on the tails and then sharply tighten the loops of the bow and just keep adjusting until it feels secure, but also until you've got the loops the right size you want. And if you find your tails are too long, you can just trim those to length. And the last things I got to show you are this pair of mugs. These came from the local supermarket, or I got them from the charity shop. I can't find the label on them. They were probably 50p each, something like that. They're a bit too big. I prefer a mug that's straight up and down with slightly thinner china to drink out of. But I thought I would make either flower arrangements in here or buy some miniature Christmas trees and pop them up into here, and then I can have one at either end of my mantelpiece. Now the fun part can start, so trying to organise all my festive finds and using them to best decorative effect. I love doing this. So again, this is another favourite spot in my house, in my front room, where I keep the top of this sideboard clear, and it's where I display all my vintage finds and the items I've been teaching in my Zoom flower classes. And if you'd like to find out more about my classes, I'll drop a link to them in the notes underneath this video. So you can already see I've decided to switch out the Father Christmas plate. I thought it didn't quite go with the vibe that I was trying to create. And then the next problem area was getting the two houses to sort of sit neatly into the scene. So I got a few vintage books. There's one red one, so I stood the red house on the red book. Eventually I do switch it around a few times, and then to try and blend in the actually quite bright white house that I've wet distressed on the top just to bring out the detail of the house, I've got a paler book, a sort of smoky grey bluish book, and I just felt it sat better within the... Well, that's all from me for now. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll be back soon with another video, so I'll see you next time.